This is really the surprise of the night in Tunisia. I think you would have found very few people in Tunis yesterday who would have put Qais Saied as the man who was going to come out on top in this election. This is at least according to private polling. He is a constitutional lawyer, as you say, but he's also a man who doesn't have the backing of a political party behind him, nor a major religious faction in the country. He seemed to run his political campaign kind of on a shoestring for this election. He travelled around by himself, going door to door, speaking to voters. He didn't have a big online campaign, a big campaign on social media. And what are his politics? Well, the thing that's interesting about him is he is, in a way, his politics aren't... He has an outsider status, which makes him similar to the other man who it appears has got through to the second round, Nabil Karoui. He's also somebody who pitted himself as the anti-establishment figure in this election. He's a man who has apparently gone through to the second round, even though he remains in prison and has fought this entire election campaign from behind bars. Now, back to Qais Saied, he's also a man who has some pretty socially conservative views. He has some sympathies for the Islamist Salafist movement here in the country, which is even more socially conservative than the Ennahda movement, the kind of moderate Islamist force here in the country. So lots of surprise here in Tunisia today about those two men who are apparently going through to the second round. But we'll have to wait, as you say, for the final polling to confirm those results later this evening or tomorrow morning.
Nadia, the turnout was much lower than expected. What happened?
Yeah, turnout came in finally at just over 45%. Now, that's a big drop from Tunisia's first presidential election back in 2014, when 64% of people turned out to cast their ballots. And frankly, we weren't enormously surprised that the voter turnout had gone down significantly. When we've been speaking to people here for the past couple of days, they've been telling us really that they're pretty apathetic about the democratic process here. People say they're frustrated that 9 years after the Arab Spring that was sparked by deep frustration over the economy, over social ills, that many of those problems haven't really gone away, and in many cases they're getting worse. Take the economy, for example. Unemployment here is rising. It's about 15% at the moment, and that's up to 30% in some urban areas of the country. Inflation is rising too. There have been riots, there have been protests as well, and lots of people telling us they didn't want another figure sitting in the presidential chair who wasn't going to affect real change. So many of them didn't turn out to vote yesterday, and it seems that those that did go out to vote voted for these two rather unorthodox anti-establishment candidates.